All righty. I think we're a couple minutes late. Couple minutes late, but still going okay. Let's see. I want to today check out Exofactory. So Exofactory, let's see if I can pull it up here. Exofactory has a demo out for Steam Next Fest. It's written in Bevy. So I thought it would be cool to play since they have a demo out and it's on Steam and out for Next Fest. They had a recent blog post on the 7th, so it's been about a week. And I haven't played the demo yet. So this is absolutely not going to be any kind of critique or anything. It's just going to be a playthrough of the demo if I can get it to run. And that'll be the start of the stream today. And then we'll get into some Rust stuff afterwards. So I think, let me pull up the stream over here, just so that I'm aware of which thing is happening. There's my preview. Let's switch over to the Windows desktop. Hopefully this works. I think everything is still set up. Cool. Let's get rid of the desktop. Let's go to Steam. Oh, there's an Exofactory update. I downloaded it this morning, so. Okay, let's see. Is this going to work? Is the question. It does work. Oh, right. No Mac OS build, unfortunately. We'll try it later today on your PC. Yes, Linux and Windows only is my understanding at the moment. Cool. Nice. Scrolling settings menu. Don't want to restart though. How do I get out of the menu? Is there a back button? I said I wasn't going to critique at all, but I think I actually have to, oh, there we go. Okay, it didn't actually restart. It just, that is the back button. Cool. So load up a new game.
I am alone here and things are not as they should be. What is going on?
What is going on?
Who am I even talking to?
I think the idea behind this factory builder is you got dropped onto a planet and you're like a computer or an AI or something like that.
Something is quite wrong. Actually, the more I look, the more I see that quite a bit is quite wrong. I need to understand what is going on. Okay, I looked at my logs and it has been 1,046 years since I have heard from humanity. That is not good. I was supposed to take possession of this planet from my predecessor mind, that predecessor mind being responsible for the initial terraforming of this world. But that mind did not wake me up. Furthermore, no emergency wake-up signals have been received.
I think I'm just spinning the light.
Then who did wake me up? Why am I awake at all? Okay, let's try not to think about existential stuff yet. Let's keep calm and focus on the practical.
WASD works. I do have a controller plugged in. I should probably
the practical
unplug
situation.
Oh, you know what just happened, actually? I just crashed the game by unplugging my controller. Hang on. We'll be back in a sec.
I am alone here, and things are not as they should be. What is going on? Who am I even talking to? Something is very wrong.
We still have to sit through
self-reflection.
The text again?
My mental faculties are intact, although degraded. Something is quite wrong.
Global.
Actually, the more I look, the more I see that quite a bit is quite wrong. I need to understand what is going on.
I think we have to wait for the text to play through, even though we just watched it.
Okay, I looked at my logs, and it has been 1,046 years since I have heard from humanity.
Exofactory dev. Yes.
That
Hello,
is not
Caitlin.
good.
How are you?
I was supposed to take possession
I
of this planet
unfortunately
from
just
my
crashed it by
predecessor
disconnecting my
mind. That
controller.
predecessor mind being responsible for the initial terraforming of this world.
So
But
far,
that
so
mind
good
did not wake
otherwise.
me up. Furthermore, no emergency wake-up signals have been received. Then who did wake me up? Why am I awake at all? Okay, let's try not to think about existential stuff yet. Let's keep calm and focus on the practical.
Cool. WASD.
So the practical situation is that the sensor mesh net seems to be online, even if that network only consists of a single node. Fusing the information gathered by my collection of sensors, I can get a sort of global view. That's a good practical thing too. In this sensor-fused global view, I can modify my perspective using the standard controls I know. This should be helpful, really helpful. I'm getting a sense of what's around me now. That's progress. I'll focus on exactly what practical things I have to work with here. I'll center the focus point on my core and interact with it.
Center focus on core and interact with it. So I assume that's the core right there.
To the left, there is a guide on how to interact.
To the left, there is a guide on how to interact.
Why is that even there? No idea.
Okay, here's a question. Which button do I need to press if I'm keyboard? Sun. Is there a pause menu? Click, but you need to be close. Okay, somehow I put myself up in the air. See if I can go down somehow. Oh, scroll. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I know visualizing functionality isn't too normal,
okay,
but I find it comforting.
Handcrafted recipes,
and looking at what functionality there is, it looks like I'll need all the comfort I can get.
Takes time, but it's useful. I assume that's like a collection.
What I can do is disassemble lesser used parts
iron,
of myself
low power
to gain
wire,
just enough to put together a little external frame I can occupy. The important thing is to not dwell on the fact that I disassembled lesser used parts of myself.
Or we're not going to be able to get anything else.
If humans can take out lesser used parts, so can I. The little guy won't be too capable, but it's better than nothing. Better than dying in a box in the desert. At least there's hope now.
Handcrafting.
I'll make an exoframe and think of what to do next. I just need to remember to stay focused on my core visualization when making things manually. Cores were never meant to make anything, so I need to make sure I misuse the systems properly.
Click out of, but we also don't have anything else to do other than, I think, wait for this to build. I assume the progress will make more sense as we're building more stuff.
I never realized how much
we can only build one of them because we only have one galvanized iron.
Until about 45 seconds ago. I kind of want to not do manual labor if I can avoid it. Anyways, now I have an exoframe.
This is safety. First steps towards something. Enter exoframe.
If I close the core visualization window, I can try to enter the exoframe. Once again, the strange guide on the left shows how.
Okay. I'm a little exoframe.
And when I am occupying an exoframe, I can move around for real. Moving my perspective in a sensor fusion virtual representation is one thing, but moving in the world for real is another.
Is this infinite, or do I have to suggest?
When I am occupying an exoframe, I can switch back to my global view at any time. When I am in my global view, I can switch back to the exoframe. I'll try switching back and forth a few times. Then I'll think of what to do next.
The exoframe.
As always, the strange guide is there to the left. At this point, I know the deal.
Okay, build menu, extraction, special lights. We don't have anything in here yet. Ooh. I think I switched the mode I was in. Back into my exoframe.
Now that I can move around in the real world, I need to think of what is next. Well, I can't keep tearing myself apart, that's for sure. And I was sent to industrialize this world. I could start by finding resources and building up some infrastructure. I'm not doing it because I was programmed to. I am doing it because I want to.
Back?
Wait, do I want to build infrastructure because I was programmed to?
What do we do with basalt? We only have the one exoframe, so maybe we just need other stuff. I cannot
spend time worrying about this. Not yet, at least. Regardless of the state of free will, and if I have it in a deterministic universe, I need to mine some more.
I only see
I imagine that I should have some sort of ore scanning system,
basalt.
And I suspect a more developed version of me would. But for now, I don't. I'll have to look around the ground for rocks like a meat-based intelligence. I imagine a meat-based intelligence would like to collect rocks as a hobby. Feels weird to me, but everyone has to find their muse somewhere.
Yeah, cool.
I'll just focus on finding a rock somewhere and gather some
more.
I
assume this is automatable at some
point. It may
point.
not look like it, but the exoframe is an adequate mining machine.
Okay.
Okay, now that I have some ore, I realize that I need to be able to process it.
Basalt.
Let me think.
Iron, I think galvanized iron was the thing we needed for
I have some
other little
designs
exobots.
somewhere deep in my memories that I could use. Let's unearth them. Done. It took a little bit of the DD rescue subsystem, but I think I got them.
Check this little rock out because it looks different.
I found a bunch of other interesting stuff. I now have the ability to build mining machines, furnaces, and the belts to connect everything.
Okay, I can build mining machines, furnaces,
etc. While occupying an exoframe, we can build these things now and finally
automation
put an
is doable.
end to
Yeah,
this
I mean, it's a factory
mining.
game.
Copper ore means copper
I think I would be
ingots
more
are on the
surprised
table
if
now.
automation
I'm looking forward
wasn't
to
doable.
creating some wires.
Okay. Copper ingot.
Know what I don't like? Rust.
Zinc ingot.
And zinc lets us prevent that on the cheap.
Does this interrupt it? Okay, so if we
now that I have the salt ore, I can start creating discrete by
hand or in the furnace. We click on one while it's building that interrupts. Is that accurate?
Iron ore is exciting. It's the basis of most of what I can make. Zinc ingots.
Fastcrete is sounding like something we need.
They make me feel all protected just thinking about them. Copper ingots and storage. I can start making low power wire to hook everything together.
The rust joke was great.
Copperese. Bosscrete, like concrete but more environmentally friendly.
You can only handcraft one at a time.
Do I even care about the environment? I don't know yet.
Gotta build up the automation in some way. We have what? Zinc, copper. Let's make one iron. See if anything else pops up. I don't play a ton of factory games, but I assume that as I get
structural iron, this is the beginning of a beautiful relationship.
More
recipes will pop up. I think I'm going to use a ton of this
stuff. Do we have enough for 4 of those? I think we do. Maybe barely enough. Barely collected enough iron. I feel like Rust, the programming language, sets itself up for great games jokes. I don't play the Rust game at all, so I don't make too many of them.
With structural iron on hand, I can start turning out screws. I am sure these won't get annoying to manage.
Iron ingot.
With structural iron stock and zinc ingots, I can start producing galvanized iron for more complicated
parts. Can I get back to my iron? There we go.
I wonder what sort of new things I could make.
Okay. Do we have
perhaps additional exoframes?
Mining machine. Mining machine is going to be, I guess, the first thing we build. I kind of want to put it on something that is a little bit harder or a little bit more valuable. So maybe the iron, if we can find it again. This doesn't, this is the iron. I feel like the iron is going to be useful for stuff. Question is, must be placed on an extraction site. Do we have to make this an extraction site before I can place it? Okay. Would Logistics, merger storage, splitter lifter, belts, storage. You immediately recognize those bevy shadow fall off distances. You hotfixed the UI scaling this morning and didn't test the subtitles. Yeah, I saw the hotfix. Well, I actually had it downloaded and then it told me it needed to update, so I assumed that you hotfixed it. That's cool, though. I saw your post talking about the process of releasing it on Steam. I think that's a question that a lot of people have that there isn't a ton of information out on. So it says this costs a beam and wire. I think we have the beam and we have the wire, but I need to figure out how to place it or where to place it. This must be placed on an extraction site. Too far from Exoframe. This is clearly either not an extraction site or we make it an extraction site. I might not have the recipe to make something an extraction site. Fiddle around with the ore location. It must be placed near the ore, but not on top directly. Okay. Ore location. Oop. Insufficient materials. Okay, so we actually need 4 oh, I need to be holding the iron, don't I? It can't be in the inventory. It's got to be on me. Structural iron. What else did she say we needed? Galvanized iron. Oh, we should make galvanized iron. But low power wire was the other thing we needed. So I assume, so the cost in here is 0, 0. The cost when I go to place it shows differently. Okay. I think we got it. We have a successful place here. I'm going to go ahead and assume that the placement here doesn't really matter because all of the stats are the same.
Now that I can mine properly, I will be able to produce ore by the ton.
Cool. So we probably need some belts.
Ore is fun to think about, but it isn't really inherently that useful.
Or to process it automatically.
But with a
somehow.
Furnace, it becomes very useful.
Control click,
now that I
between
looked, I see a design for one in the deep archives. I can build one now.
If I click on this, does it tell me what it's doing?
We can reduce our hand mining now that we have this.
Significantly
Glad
faster
to see
than
that the design works.
manually doing it. Productivity 85%. I already don't like that. Where am I losing 15% productivity? This is why I don't play factory games. I would get so lost. Let's see. So, question. That is a mining machine furnace. Okay, so the furnace unlocked. Presumably the furnace needs to be somewhere nearby-ish. Iron ingot, copper ingot. 2 iron, 2 copper. But steal some of this for a moment. See how much copper we got. Okay, we need 1 more copper. We have the copper for it. Sweet. Scroll. And then do we need iron? We need 1 more iron. So we need to put the iron ingots back so that we can make some iron. Those rock formations handcrafted or procedural? That is a question for Caitlin. I'm sure she can answer. Iron. So 2 iron, 3 copper. I think we have enough for the furnace. I don't know. Procedural, cool. Mining machine, furnace. Okay, so furnace, I assume the red is the input. I don't remember where the output was for this. I think it's this thing here. I think that's where I would place a belt. Maybe I try to place a belt first, just as a... it doesn't seem to be a place. How do I rotate? Rotate. There we go. Okay, so that's the output. I don't know what this is, but that's the output. Production, furnace. So let's just throw everything through here. I don't know if we'll need anything else, but...
Okay, now that I have a furnace, I can route ore into the input
fabricator.
With belts. From there, I get the ore out of the other side.
Okay, so presumably
like
this goes into that.
I will need to interact with it to configure it properly.
I'm going to stick a belt between each of these so I don't have to guess.
I need to use them somehow. Now I can with the new to me fabricator.
And then theoretically fabricator. Assuming that this is actually burning stuff in some way.
I can configure what is made in the furnace by selecting the production mode
capability. Select the mode, production mode. Iron ingot. Input ore, progress. Cool. Cool. So we are backing up here. Let's try fabricator. Structural iron, low power wire. What do we have for... Do we have enough for that? Let's see, control click. I think this is control. I'm running back. What do we actually need? I don't think we have the actual stuff for this, right? Do we have the low power wire? We don't. We need low power wire. We need copper for low power wire. We don't have enough copper for more low power wire. And we also need structural iron, which I don't think we have. Structural iron, 4 pieces of iron. So we should have some iron coming out over here. I wonder if I can just pick it up, hopefully. Maybe not. Maybe I have to take it out of the machine. Well, out of the machine is fine. This is just the demo map. It will be better in the full map. Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. Structural iron. I like that I don't have to double click on this to make it, and the materials seem plentiful that it doesn't matter too much if it makes or starts to make 2. I don't see a way to stop it if I don't want it to happen though. Okay. Do we have enough? Structural iron, copper. Copper was over here, right? Can we place another of the other things? Oh, we don't have the wire for it, which is why we're doing the copper. Okay, cool. Yeah. And now we're full on into factory builder. I want to build a thing. I don't have the resources. I'm trying to get the resources to build the thing from the thing. Okay, let's run this back and do... Did I not get enough? Oh no, I didn't put it back in the inventory. And put the iron up here too. How many of these do we need? 4? We'll just make the other one too. I don't see any use for copper ore other than ingots, so we'll just make them all and hold them. Then mining machine. Oh, we need the wire. That's why. Already forgot what I was doing. Low power wire. Ingots. 1.
Low power wire
2.
is what makes the electrons go round. At
2
least
is
the low
enough
power
for the
data and signaling
current
electrons.
thing, but I think we need more if
Given
we're
that
going to do
robotics
like a
are
furnace
like
or something.
20% low power wire, it's nice to know I will have it at scale soon.
This is producing massively more than manual, so I think doing this is definitely worth it. Okay, where's my other stuff? It's over there, so let's try to set this up. This. Where's my logistics? Why doesn't it like that? Curved, elevated. Straight. Can I furnace this? Copper ingot 2, iron ingot 1, low power wire 1. We have the copper to do this. I also don't know how much there is to the demo, so. There's always a reason shown if something can't be built. Look at the bottom of the screen to see. Okay, I must have just missed it then. Okay, let's get one of these wires in. So wire, and then iron. We have enough iron. Sneak one more copper ingot in there. Okay. That's cool that it's not like... Wait, why is this not operating? Progress paused. Oh, because it's full. It's full. That makes sense. Okay, extraction, special logistics. Rotate. Oh, insufficient materials, of course. Of course. Back to the box for the iron. Let's see. Structural. Put some ingots back in here. Let's make one more structural beam. Wrong one. Wrong one, but let's just grab these ingots while we're here. Let's see. Furnace. Production mode. Copper ingot. Question is, do I need a belt between them? It looks like I kind of do, actually. Unless it's not sending because you need a belt. Okay, yeah. Hope I can move this. Can I move this? Enter building mode. What is building mode? Okay. Hold to delete. Do I get the resources back if I delete it? Hopefully. Looks like I did. If not, then I just spent more than I thought I did. Straight belt. That direction. Yes, you get the refund. Sweet. Okay, and then this is copper. Cool. And this looks like it produces... I don't know how fast this burns, but we're just filling it up. I think it produces faster than the furnace works. Slightly. Cool, a bunch of ingots. And now... What was the original reason? The fabricator? Structural iron and low power wire, that's what we needed. So low power wire is going to be easy now, because we have this copper. Making that by hand is okay for the moment. Not doing any huge build outs yet. Structural iron we still need. It was a little bit slower. Is there anything else? Iron coated with a protective zinc layer. So 2 zinc. Can we make a zinc? I want to unlock any recipes for it, is what I'm doing.
Galvanized iron is nice to have. While it's not the toughest material I know of, it's the first I can start to feel safe with. I won't rust apart in a few years.
That's really fast. Okay, structural iron, low power wire, screws. Oh, there's a stop button at the top. Okay, that makes sense. I just never see it because I'm always never at the top. Cool. So fabrication wise, is there a splitter? Splitter. I feel like fabrication wise, I want to retain the ability to potentially make more out of this because I don't know that I saw other iron. And this is... Put this out here, I guess. Oh, structural iron. Okay, so we're going to be able to store a ton. That's a lot of the iron, for sure. Structural iron. Building beams. Not right in Erlang, but still building beams. So for anybody who joined late, this is a game built in Betty that is currently participating in Steam Next Fest. I'm not fully... I think Steam Next Fest is this week, right? So it's like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or something like that. So the demo is out on Steam. You can go get it. It's called Exofactory. It is, and it is this week. Yeah. Structural iron. Cool. I forget if we needed anything else. I wasn't paying attention. ADHD wins again. So stick that there.
I now have a fabricator. This means I can automate the basics. Yay,
and this is going to be structural iron and low power wire. I think those are the 2 things that we really need right now. So let's make this structural iron. And then we got to line our belts in. I didn't line this up earlier, so I'm just hoping I put 3 spots here. 3. Curve. That's good. Curved. Curved. Flip. What is flip? Ooh, flip. Do a flip. I don't know what flip is on my keyboard. Let me see. F maybe? Up, right, left. G. Hitting some keys at the moment. Z. Oh, that's not the right button. I don't know what button this is, but this button switches me back into global mode. And I'm never in the right place. I want to be this thing. Okay, so curved. Rotate is arrow, or rotate is D-pad. It's not arrow keys as far as I can tell. M key. M. Yeah, rotate. Rotate being R. And then I expected flip to be like F or something. I don't have a lot of factory game experience. So I don't, oh, structural iron for this, yeah. Did I really short myself 1 structural iron for the belt? Flip used to be mirror and that's the default M. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, put iron in here, get more structural iron. See, any advice on running the game over crossover? We need gold. Well, we don't need it, but shiny. Okay, a couple of beams. Curved. M. I play on half a keyboard. I have Moonlander set up, so I play on half a keyboard for the games that I usually play. So my M key is like over here somewhere because I just kind of push it to the side. But I have an emergency regular keyboard on my desk as well, just in case I need something like this. Okay, so structural iron is being made. Sweet. So kind of same thing over here, right? Now that we're making the iron, we could probably also automate some of this production. Fabricator, no, splitter is what I want. I know splitter is not particularly the most efficient way to do things, but low power wire. Of course I need low power wire. Do I need ingots for that? Grab the ingots. It's interesting that the output seems to have stopped here at 32. So 64 for a regular slot and 32 for that fabricator slot. Yeah, native Linux and Windows. How many people and time does it take to get to the game to this state? Also, what a beautiful game is the comment. Where's our wire? Wire. Copper. Build. Running wire. Just like I did to set up my Ethernet cables. And let's lock it at 10 or so. I think the team is small. From the posts that I've read, the team seems like maybe 2 people or so. I don't know that for sure, though. I'm sure Caitlin has an answer. 3 people. Nice. That feels like a pretty good split. Dev work, 3D, and musician. I think that's also the makeup of Team Cherry, right? Windows is a secondary target, technically. It's like because people who play factory builders also like Linux. Let's see. Put this. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. I think that's the right place. Structural iron, though. There's supposed to be a way to right-click and get that, right? Control. Oh, I don't want to place it there if it places. Control click. Maybe that only takes it from my inventory or something. It applies to me for sure. Risk 5 and nice. That's cool. Oh, that's really funny. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Belts. Did I mess up my belt operation? Curved, rotate, 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 mirror, rotate. And then set this to low power wire. Okay, so now we have low power wire whenever we need it. We didn't make the screw facility yet. See, fabricator, furnace, mining, and storage. Is that all the recipes in the game? Or should I be going to find more minerals and stuff? Merger storage, special. We could throw a mining machine on more of the minerals, but I think it's going to be the same setup. So drill, furnace, fabricator. Do we need... precision fasteners for mechanical assemblies? We haven't used screws yet, which is iron ingots. So I feel like there's going to be something that needs screws. Also, basscrete we haven't used yet. Build more belts and a lifter to see some more content. Okay, cool. More recipes, no minerals. Cool. Yeah. I think there's plenty of minerals to like have a bunch of stuff to build. More belts though. Okay. And a lifter. Where's a lifter? Here's a lifter.
Okay, now that I've gotten things a bit off the ground, I can create an elevated path.
And then presumably...
It's convenient and makes my life easier. I could even stack the belts if I want. In order to bring the items back down, I just need to flip the lifter and it becomes a lowerer. Is lowerer even a real word? Looking through my memories,
Here's a
I can't
question.
seem to find an official name for the lowerer.
Can a lifter be the thing that comes out of a machine,
I guess
or
since
does
I'm
it
the only
have to
one
be
here,
built
I get to
into
decide.
lifter?
Lowerer it is.
We'll find out after the messages stop, I think. I think this has to be built into lifter because nothing's coming out. What was build mode? Build mode was this. Let's get rid of this, get rid of that, and reverse them. And then lifter here. There we go. Wonderful narrator. Hey, Anders, how's it going? Lifters are technically a building from a code perspective. Interesting. You would want a second exoframe for more content. Okay. More belts, lifters, exoframe. Is there a number of belts I have to hit in general? I feel like I don't have anywhere to take the stuff. I guess putting things here, like I could bring them back to like quote unquote base, but there's not a lot of like purpose in doing that. It doesn't feel like. Let's do structural iron, low power wire. So structural iron, low power wire, and galvanized iron. Okay, that's what we use the galvanized iron for. 20 belts. Yeah. Belts just have a simple shader and that's all. I'll have to take a look at the belts after I build this. Right, because the belts are... The belt shader is the movement of the belt. Yeah, that would make sense. So it's just UV scrolling the texture, yeah? They're meant to be organic events that happen naturally as you play. You're just giving content hints. Yes. Yeah. UI is Bevy UI. Read that in one of their blog posts.
Okay, this should be something fun and new. With two exoframes, I should be able to do at least 1.25 times as much. Wait, why 1.25 times?
Why 1.25?
Well, because I still only have a
focus.
single point of focus. Right?
I've still only got my one brain cell, so I can't be that much more productive.
Running at the speed of light on the most advanced processors ever designed. This is something I need to investigate. If it's phenomenologically possible, I should be able to do better. I'll look into this. For now, I can use my exoframes as different limbs. I can explore or mine while my global focus lays elsewhere.
Or mine while my global focus lays elsewhere.
Actually, I just realized something. I realized that I sort of wanted a second exoframe. It's emotionally nice.
So this will let me jump back and forth between them,
to realize that I wanted something, and then to have made it in this crazy situation. I want to set a goal for myself for once. For the first time ever, actually. I want to build a generator.
That's right on a D-pad.
I know it's not really efficient, but sometimes efficiency isn't the
arrow
point.
Keys. Oh, is it the arrow keys?
There is me.
Left or right, actually. Cool. Let's take this one over here somewhere. Back to the other one immediately. So some nice switching there, which is cool. We got zinc here that we haven't been extracting. Oh, I did miss it. Sorry. Some perils of streaming is that I definitely get distracted while I'm doing things. Wants to build a generator. It would be nice if things that like were new things to do or like tasks showed up somewhere. How do we build a generator, do you think? Since I definitely didn't read that recipe. Production, mining. Oh, there's the generator. Cool. Generator 32 Bascrete. So we need to build another machine for that. Galvanized iron. That'll be easy. Structural iron we already have. Low power wire we already have. Screws, I think we have a decent amount of. So let's go for the Bascrete. And let's do So we have iron, structural, low power wire. Let's fetch a couple more of these resources from our factories and then go meet the other one. So structural iron comes through. Oh, it's an item-based limit. Okay, ore is at 64 and iron is 32. Turn myself around. Where's my other machine? See, if I don't use GPS, I get lost. Can you tell? Okay, so we've got that and that. Let's... Oh, how do I get out of global mode? I want to get back to my Exoframe. And I wanted to go back to this one just to see if we could flip back to the... Yeah. Because now we can just sit here. The other one can collect and we can use those? Or do I have a different inventory over here? Seems like I have a different inventory over here. So each bot seems to have its own inventory. I forget the button to pull up an inventory. I maybe? Different inventory per exoframe. Ah, dang. I was really hoping that I could like collect with this one and then go to the other one. This is a dynamic dialogue game along with a factory game. You should add a diary, but part of the game is self-exploration and game reacting to it. Yes, absolutely. I also assume that we aren't going to be in like a small little like closed off valley in the actual game. So I assume that there will be more reason to walk around and do things. Different inventory per exponent you can collect, but you will need to deposit to a storage bin. Yeah. Okay, extraction. Belt. Furnace. Wait, do we need furnace for this? I'm going to assume yes. Don't know, but I assume yes. We need copper ingots. Am I out of copper ingots? I didn't pick up any, did I? I picked up all of the wire, but none of the copper. Luckily, we have plenty of copper. Splitter than furnaces? Yeah. I've been doing splitter on everything. I don't know why I didn't also do a splitter on this one. I feel like it's not too early game is the wrong framing, but the it's too unknown. Like I've never played this version of the game before, right? So definitely feels like splitting is safer, so I don't have to like rejigger everything later. Curve. Come on, curve. Mirror. Cool. Is this in the wrong spot? There's a question. I do think... Oh, I also placed a belt on top. Let me get back into, what is it? That mode. Let's get rid of that belt. I think I messed this one up. Yeah. Delete. Curved. Mirrored. All right. Now we got our furnace production mode. Fastcrete. And this should be producing quite a bit for us. I don't know if Fastcrete turns into anything later. I did just place 2 belts over the top of my head, which is definitely what you should be doing as a builder. You can have more than one, then less back pressure. Yeah, less back pressure. Production mode. The only other thing we have for the furnace is zinc. We don't need that much zinc though. So I think I'm just going to leave that to manual for the moment. In the meantime, let this kind of backfill. Much better graphics than I would be capable of, but it could be better. I think that this is a demo, absolutely, and that there is definitely more work going into the game. This is absolutely not a critique stream today. This is just playing the demo. Yeah, unsolicited advice is always critique. Is the framing that is very useful. Cool. Oh, right, belt. We don't have a belt here. Cool. Just get some of that stored up. I feel like we needed quite a bit of it. I don't remember how much exactly we needed. How much did we need? This is going to be generator. We need 32, galvanized iron, and screws. Okay, let's let this run. Let's go back and do galvanized iron and some screws. Yeah, this is definitely a desert, and it's definitely a demo level. Let's see, what do we need? Screws. How many screws do we have? We need 30. We need iron ingots for the screws. Let's automate that because I think we can just throw them in over here. Let's keep the structural iron. Cool that it only fills that one slot if you drag it onto something that only already has some. So let's do fabricator. We can build it here. I can use my belt skills. Production mode, screws. So this is going to like overflow with screws because screws seemed very quick to make. I think we only need 32 for the generator, but this feels like a resource that is going to be used a lot. Okay, what else do we need? We need generator, fastcrete, galvanized iron. I think, do we have zinc? Zinc ore, make a couple of them. You can always right click to step back from what you were doing, by the way. Step back as in cancel or step back as in... Okay, yeah. I think I've been using right click, or maybe I haven't. Zinc for galvanized iron ingots, drag those in. And we'll just make as much galvanized iron as we can. I think it's only going to be like 2 pieces, maybe 1. But that's fine. We need this. We have our screws. We have our structural iron. We have our wire. What else do we actually need? The basket, and then we're good. Let's go fetch. Exit window, leave build mode. Okay, cool. Yeah, I keep placing belts all over the place. That's when I'm not using it. Hold some basket and go build our generator. Okay. Generator doesn't have any kind of like in and out or anything. Should I place this close by? I feel like I'll just place it here.
And with that building build, I have done something for myself.
And with that building, I've done something for myself.
For now. And with that, this demo has ended.
And with that, the demo has ended. Thank you for trying it out. You can continue to play,
but unless you were quite unlucky, there will be no further events.
There will be no further events. Did I build enough belts to trigger everything? Forget how many there were. I'm just going to spam a couple of them.
I almost didn't get this one. The data was lost, but I recovered it. The sensor post is something that I can build now. I don't have enough data to reconstruct it fully, but I have the essence. The sensor post expands my mesh network greatly. Once I build it, I can move my virtual perspective into its sensing range, even if there are no buildings to extend the sensor mesh.
Am I hearing the music and text-to-speech? I am not. I don't have my headphones on. I just didn't turn them on. There's a lot of text-to-speech. Okay, cool. I'm very much a read the subtitles kind of person anyway. And especially when I'm streaming, if there's a lot of like talking happening and I'm also talking. Low power wire. We need one more low power wire. There's copper, low power wire. So the question I have is the sensor for like global mode? Oh, there we go. I just hit a barrier, I think. So I can't go further than this that way. I don't know if that's because this is the demo area or if this is the signal reach limit. So we're gonna find that out. Forgot how to switch back. There we go. So let's do... You can only go so far from your buildings. Yeah, the sensor specifically said it extended the range, so I wanted to find the range so that I could hopefully extend it. Yeah, because now we can just go through with the global mode. So not a ton of extension, but definitely extension. I assume there's nothing to find over there. Maybe that's a bad assumption. You might have hid something behind a rock over here. Right, because this will eventually stop me, I assume. I don't know if the signal extension is just global mode or if it's for the little bots too. Too far from Exoframe. Oh, that's because I'm placing a thing as I go. I think the bots can go anywhere, but the global view can't. Yeah, it's just global. Bots are free. Cool. Well, I think that's it. I think we've done everything. Built enough belts, gathered enough materials. Built some automation. Can't think of anything else that we would do that would trigger something. Sweet. So I'm gonna call the demo there and go back to doing some code and stuff. Save this. Why not? Sweet. Thanks for hanging out, Caitlin. That was fun. Appreciate all the help too, because I definitely wouldn't have found a bunch of stuff if you didn't point it out or had significantly more trouble due to my own proclivities. Again, that's Exofactory. So they have a demo as part of Steam Next Fest. They have exofactory.net where they talk about a bunch of development. I assume that a bunch of you in the audience right now are Bevy developers. So if you're interested in what they're doing, they do post about it in devlogs fairly often, actually. Oop. That's one thing I don't want up, Discord. Cool. Where do we start with code? Am I using Neri? No, this is a Mac. So I don't have access to Neri, unfortunately. I think Neri also has scrolling desktops, right? Cool. So asteroids we did yesterday. We did a bunch of workshop updates. I think pretty much every workshop is up to date. The snake workshop, I still have some decisions that I want to make about it. Yeah, my window manager on Mac is you buy. There's an alternative that I forget the name of as well. But yeah, gotta have the window manager. Couldn't use a computer without a window manager at this point. Macs tend to have great support for a whole bunch of stuff, like Substance Designer, for example. It's also Linux enough, or Linux-like. The only development thing that I've really ever had frustrations about when using from a Mac is Docker. And that's because I worked at Docker from like 2014 to 2016. And Docker for Mac didn't exist then. Well, it did towards the end of that time period. But the Docker for Mac file system has always had some kind of like slowdown with the mounting, the bind mounts and stuff. So running Docker on a Mac was always a subpar experience compared to running Docker on Linux, where it was basically like transparent. Okay, I don't think this code example runs. See if it's in a running state. This particular demo is going to be a visibility demo. And I just started moving the loop. So the premise here, I don't know that I'm going to keep all the shapes, but the premise here is that to do a 2D visibility map, one of the approaches you can take is sort all the vertices in kind of like ascending angle order, and then kind of like do a 360 scan, and you should be able to build a bunch of triangles out of that. And then the idea there is that I will upload that buffer of vertices as a triangle list through a mesh, and hopefully be able to just keep updating that mesh over and over. I'm interested in whether that will end up causing any issues or not. Because I know that doing it lower level, like passing in a bunch of vertices and whatnot, in like a buffer would be fine. But I would really be interested in having a simpler example for building up that mesh and sending it through as a triangle list. The one thing that I don't know about this demo, so I've never built a 2D visibility demo before, so I'm kind of figuring it out as I go. 2D visibility. So Bread Blob Games has a bunch of like classic blog posts, I'll say. They've been around for, 2 decades. The 2D visibility one is one of them. So this is kind of the example, right? A couple of walls and lines and stuff. And they have a demo down here of the algorithm that they're using. Oh, they actually have code here, do they? Okay. So this goes in a circle and pings to each vertex, right? And then builds a triangle out of that vertex. So building the triangles once you're scanning seems pretty simple. The thing that I am on next for this demo is basically, it seems to me like they have an implicit bound on the vertices. So, for example, the demo they have here allegedly starts with it looking west, right? And if you hit the first vertex here, there's two interesting things that happen. One is that it automatically connects to that first vertex that is not highlighted down here in the bottom left corner, which if this thing was only scanning like that, it wouldn't know about that vertex yet. And the other is that the raycast goes all the way to like, I guess what you can consider the back wall. So you have to know where this other vertex is to be able to know where that wall would be, or something like that, right? Which I haven't seen an explanation for in the post. Yeah, okay. However, this approach doesn't work well if the walls are different sizes, so the demo uses a slightly more complicated approach, which I won't explain here. So they don't have an explanation for it. Isn't the first vertex a corner of the bounding box? It is in this demo. But they don't really describe a bounding box ever. So I think they just like, they put one here, and I don't know if that's a critical part of their approach or not. Right? Because like there are situations in which you never hit that corner. But I guess at the end of the day, the bounding box is just 4 more vertices. So like, does it really matter? The only difference, right, would be if, for example, there was something like this, then you might stop here instead, or have to set like a limit to the distance. Because if you don't have this bounding box, then like the triangle has to get built from here to these 2 vertices, because where else do you put it? Unless it's just arbitrary, right? It's an arbitrary distance, like I was saying. The other interesting thing is let's see. So list of endpoints sorted by angle. So we have all the vertices already. That's the asteroids demo. Let me organize my windows a little bit. Let's bring this all the way over here. Bring this all the way over here. Okay, now we're in the right place. So I wrote a loop already that does some of this. I'm not doing any optimization yet. So if you have a bunch of vertices, it's just touching all of them. All positions here is a query that is operating on mesh 2Ds. So we get the mesh 2Ds, the global transform that isn't the player. And we could like exclude other things here with components, right? We get the player's global transform with the player tag. And then we get all the meshes. I also have gizmos here just for kicks. Let's see, I actually have the gizmos here. So if I run it with the gizmos, global position dot translation. Is global position already built? I think it's already built. Cool. So this is just to be clear that it is iterating over every vertex in that clockwise rotation. Hey, Endo, how's it going? So you can see that that green dot is kind of like in the wrong spot, right? Like it reaches through that circle to the other side. We can theoretically conceive of every quote unquote wall as a line between two vertices. Not bad, not bad. And there's some interesting things about working in a clockwise rotation. If we work in a clockwise rotation and we have all the vertices, then all of the walls are actually just the next vertex in the list, because the winding order for Bevy's meshes is counterclockwise. So if we are rotating clockwise, then every next vertex that we will hit, if we're going to hit the same shape, is actually just the next vertex in the winding order, which is actually pretty cool. I can't see out of my glasses. Can't see without my glasses either. So, list of endpoints sorted by angle. We have all these endpoints. List of walls with the sweep one. List of walls the sweep line intersects. That's interesting. So they're tracking walls here, not vertices. So loop over the endpoints. Remember which wall is nearest. Add any walls that begin at this endpoint to walls. Remove any walls that end at this endpoint from walls. I don't love like the stateful nature of this algorithm, but that's fine. So theoretically, we only need to add one wall ever, right? Because whenever we hit a vertex, because we're going from vertex to vertex, right? Whenever we hit a vertex, we know that any wall that is relevant that we hit at that vertex is actually just the next vertex in the winding order. So we just go to that mesh via the handle ID. We go to the next vertex in the list, and we're done. Like that's the wall. So there's a couple things that come from that. One of which is you get the whole scan of the front of a face for free. So theoretically, if you only had one object and it had, like it was a circle or whatever, then all of these back faces would never even get hit because you can't see them if you hit the first vertex that you can see and go counterclockwise, which is in the direction of the rotation. The problem with that is then that you don't have this gap here. So the gap that jumps from place to place has to be accounted for. So like theoretically, if you hit this point here, right, it would vertex winding order to this point. And I guess we could say if that vertex is before the current one in the angle order, then it's behind. I think that would actually work. Right? Because we already have a full list of the angles. So if we're at this vertex, then it is either in the iterator that we're iterating over, right? Or it's a vertex that is behind in the angle order. And in that case, if we end at this point and we have the angle that's before it, or like an angle that doesn't exist in the iterator, then we are looking for a new shape, a new mesh vertex. The other thing that's interesting, the other case that I was thinking about is if you do something like this, can we scale these? I don't think we can scale these. I think there's a different example down here though. If you do this, right? Then technically this goes from this left-hand bottom vertex on this box to the right-hand bottom vertex on this box. But you'll never hit that right-hand vertex. You'll hit this one first. So there's other conditions that have to be accounted for when things interrupt that flow. And then I think there's some common consideration for if you hit a vertex sooner that is on a different mesh that is closer, then you have to extend the vertex to the other mesh. So you're not actually using the vertex position here for the triangle. You're using the vertex position projected onto the like the other wall, basically, which is interesting. If we have two vertices in global space, I think that we can find that position, but we'll have to do some calculations for it. I don't know if this is like the best way to implement this either. So basically that's where I am right now. Figure out which wall is now nearest wall changed. So basically we have this demo that can find all of the vertices, all of the global positions. It can iterate over all of them in order. So if I do, what is this? Vertex iterator. Let's do like .take 5. So we'll only draw 5 of these. Oop, if I don't type random characters in. So if we do .take 5 here, then these are the first 5 vertices. That feels weird, right? I think I'm doing a skip inside of this loop is what I'm doing actually. So let me do a comment out of this loop logic so that this touches all of the vertices instead of having the faulty skip. That feels weird in terms of the directional. Right, angle from player, angle from player. Let's swap the sort ordering for a second just to check. That feels weird. That feels like I'm doing the wrong calculation. I wonder if I can I could stick this information into, because we're not moving the character around right now, I could stick this information into a resource and then have another system responsible for drawing that information. Use that as a bit of a debug. Because otherwise what we have going on here is position translation, all positions, mesh, get the mesh handle, get the attribute positions for, we don't have any scales on these, so the mesh attribute positions should be like local transforms, right? Off the center. So if we add the local transform position to the global translation position, that should give us all the positions. I wonder if there's some debug thing that I can do here with Bevy. Is there a way to, I guess I could do text 2D, right? And then probably I want to reduce the amount of shapes because it'll be a little bit weird. So let's do, this is just like the shapes demo. Let's do a set of rectangles. Right? We have two of these. They are 50 by 100. This is placing them in random spots, so I think this should be okay. Yeah. So if we don't do our little take 5 here, this should connect with all the points. Red, probably not the best color here, so let's switch that to maybe a magenta. Let's see. What other colors do we have available to us that are sitting ready to go? Green would work for right now. I'm just using green in another spot. So here's all the vertices. We go to the correct positions for sure. Here, do we have that hue thing, initial hue? We could do the hue here. This is one thing I was doing before. It's just a little bit confusing to change the hue like that. So now we can view this in a low fidelity way, right? So if we take the first one, Take 0, it takes 0 off the iterator. Takes nothing. So that is the first one. That's the right first angle. You know what we could actually do here, though? This runs every frame. So let's do a local, mute local. This will be a local usize. No. Yeah, local U32, we'll say. And we'll do input. What is the proper commandment? Input button input or something like that. I forget if it's the same in 0.17 off the top of my head. Could just have a different system do this too. This could be a resource. And then I don't have to put this logic in that system as well. That's probably the better option. Anyway, let's do a system here called show index. I don't have a better name for this. This is a button input, key input, I think. No, not button. It's not button input. It's key input that I want, right? I want this run condition too. Button input key code is what it is today. Yeah, button input key code. This is not a mouse. Input dot just pressed. Key code arrow left. And then this will be a resource. So we will say, what am I going to call this? Array index. Coming up with names is one of the worst things about programming. That's a joke. Struct array index. We'll call this a U32 because that's what we had in the other thing. We don't know what the full count is here, so we're not going to loop around again. So we will do a array index dot 0 dot checked subtraction, or saturating subtraction is really what I want here, right? This is non-mutating, right? Oh, of course, this is generated by a macro. Rust docs, saturating that Saturday, saturating subtraction. Rust. Saturating subtraction returns self, so it is not mutating. So we have to do array index dot 0 equals this. Change that to be mutable. Thank you, Rust Analyzer. Unfortunately, Rust Analyzer does not want to format my code at the moment. So both helpful and not helpful. And this is going to be arrow right. And this is, we're never going to get to usize, so I'm just going to plus equals 1 here. Realistically, I could do the count of the vertices and have this wrap around or saturate at that point. But that doesn't feel particularly necessary. So we'll get ray index down here. We don't need the input because we're not handling the input here. This doesn't need to be mutable. Ray index does need to be inserted. Insert resource, ray index 0. Show index. Show index? Set ray index. Set ray index in update. This toggles wireframes, which is cool because we're working with the vertices. Run if input just pressed. Key code arrow left or input just pressed. Key code arrow right. Oh, I missed Exofactory. What is the Rust right now? Some of the examples from Rust Adventure. This is just, yeah, it's a Rust Adventure example, but it's a new Bevy examples repo example. So this is 2D visibility, and I'm just writing a bit of code here to visualize which ray is being cast at which time. For some reason, Rust Analyzer doesn't want to format my document, which is really unfortunate. Maybe if I restart Rust Analyzer. Maybe I have a syntax error somewhere and it doesn't like it. So ray index, right? In this case, let mute I equals 0. If ray index equals I, draw the line. And then I probably want to do I plus plus. Hey, Chris, I'm sure you've answered before, so you can be brief, but just want to mention the general topic. Where do you think Bevy lacks the most versus Unreal, Unity, etc.? Besides the editor, besides the editor. Oh, making the question hard on me, aren't you? Where does it lack the most between? I think that aside from the editor, there is probably a whole collection of artist workflows that have to be manually implemented that artists aren't going to want to implement. So somebody has to implement for them. This isn't necessarily a blocker, right? There are people using, for example, Bevy Hanabi's GPU particle system alongside Unity produced particles. So like exporting from Unity, throwing them into Bevy Hanabi, but you have to know what you're doing to do that. So there's a level of expertise required to execute on some of the things like that. That will get lower over time. Like the bar will get lower over time. You get that when you're on a multi-crate workspace, works fine for some of the crates, but you need to change files on other crate, it stops responding. If Rust Analyzer doesn't format, try running cargo format and see if it reworks an error. Yeah, it's a good idea. We'll just run it on everything. Perfect. It didn't touch too much stuff. I did have a file down there that wasn't formatted apparently, but thanks for the reminder to use cargo format. That's a good, it's a good shout. Okay, so we've got visibility data. Oh, also Hukasu, the Exofactory stuff will be like the first hour of the stream if you want to go back and watch it later. It was a fun demo. I would highly suggest actually just going and playing it yourself. It took us an hour to get through, and we were on stream kind of talking about stuff and whatnot. So, ray index line 2D. Is this enough? Did I forget to run something else? See if it works. See, that's weird. That looks like a distance calculation. Almost. So it's left, right. This should at least be top left on that, but it is not. So there's something wrong with my ordering. Let's go back and check the way that I'm doing the sort. I had B before A before. And I wanted to actually concretely check what the difference was. So this is just doing top before bottom. This must mean that I'm doing the angle calculation wrong. Player, oh, you know what? I'm adding the global position to the player position. That is not what I need to be doing. Which way am I doing this? Am I doing the subtraction? Which way am I supposed to be doing the subtraction? My brain is blanking. You implemented a visibility graph algorithm in Python once. It was so shockingly, oh, it was so slow, shocking peak of faith. That's correct. Okay. Yes, that is correct. I don't know why I was doing addition there. I must have just blanked on it. Yeah, somebody actually asked about a visibility approach in the Discord the other day, which is why I finally decided to do this, because this has been on my list for a while. They were asking kind of about what the best way to do it was. And while I know of a couple of approaches that could work, I don't know the best way. So I wanted to do this and then track the overhead of updating the mesh every frame and compare that to potentially other approaches. So that's the reason that I'm doing this in the first place. I wanted to actually measure it after it's done. Speaking of performance. Okay, so that's correct. Let's set our gizmos to always show all the right spots. Let's do, where's the iterator? Vertex positions, where are you? Oh, now it formatted and now it doesn't look like it did. Okay, so let's take 3 because we only have the 2 rectangles at the moment. And those are the 3 that I would expect it to be. Bottom left, bottom right, top left. So if I uncomment the logic here, and we get rid of take 3. So now our green positions are going to be from player to global. And that touches everything. I think what should be happening is it should be skipping to here and skipping to there. But I think when I was working on this, because I didn't have the ordering set correctly, I thought something was happening that was wrong, that wasn't actually wrong, and I changed it. So let me look at the logic here. The logic for this one was basically the first step. So we have the iterator. And we have a couple pieces of state that we're working with. If we don't have anything set, then we set the first or the current position, the current vertex. We set the next one to be that mesh index +1. And then we iterate through this loop again. If it's not the same mesh handle with the next index, then we continue. And otherwise we do the calculation. So actually, this looks like it's always hitting continue here with our logs. And it skips 1. Bevy use Winit by default, you think? If so, does it use the top left and bottom right as 0, 0, and 1, 1? It does for UI and stuff like that. It does not for 2D world space. 2D world space is 0, 0 at like the center of the world. For textures, 0, 0 is top left. For UI, I believe it's also top left. For 2D world, 0, 0 is in the middle of the world, which might not be where your camera is. Same thing for 3D, but that's, yeah, not really relevant. So right now we're working on 2D world space, which means 0, 0 for this application is right in the center of the screen. So this skips one which vertex is being skipped here? It looks like none of them are being skipped. So while this stuff exists, we could print out angle from player too. This should be ever increasing. So we end up with, the other thing is I think I want to set up a custom log thing that I use for all of my Bevy projects that removes the timestamp. I feel like the timestamp is really good by default, but for a lot of demos, I'm using info and I don't necessarily need it. Okay, so global position. 3, so we're going decreasing order, which is clockwise. We should actually be able to test that too. So we're going clockwise and we hit the first position, which is negative 525, 25. So this one should be skipped. I think the issue here is that we aren't continuing on the same wall. Which means that when I was thinking about this, basically this logic is wrong. Because this logic, if we're going to continue it like that, the next addition would be to set the next vertex and to look for the node that is that vertex. But really, we need to look for the node that is that vertex or is in front of that wall with an angle less than the vertex. So I think what's happening, let's see the logic here. We're getting the first, then we are getting to the second. That one, the skipped word is in the wrong place, right? This is basically, we went from 1 to 2, and 2 was the one that we were looking for. So we set those to none again. And then we hit, yeah. So if I set skip 2, like arbitrarily, right? I'm going to set a to do here, not just next index. Because theoretically we could be done, right? If angle of next index is less than current, it's behind. Also works if find doesn't find it. So we could clone the iterator, do a find. If it doesn't find it, then it doesn't exist because it's behind us. So skip 2 here, or rather current vertex's position, right? Skip 2 is the mesh 2D usize. So this is going to be the same mesh 2D. So skip mesh 2D, skip index +1. So this locks us into needing to be on the same mesh, but we'll fix that. What are my issues here? Sum. This needs to be sum. And then current vertex is the current position, right? Option vec 2. So we are at global position. And sum again here. I don't particularly like having nuns and sums like this, but so then we get, it would be cool to like be able to label these indices with numbers too. Then we get the first one, bottom left. Then it went to bottom right and found it. And then it has to look for -475, 125 actually. So it hits this next and continues. I should have the continues on the same lines. Why do I have them on next lines? Afterthoughts of looking at the logs. So it hits this one and hits continue, which is interesting because this is the one it's supposed to find, actually. Also, we need to not be drawing all of the green. Yeah, there we go. So it never finds anything, basically. So the question I have is, can we, let's log out skip 2. And then I also want to log out index and stuff. So index. Because we're continuing too far, basically. So this is a little bit hard to read. Maybe that formatting will be good. So we could probably get rid of angle from player now that we know that this is actually in the right spot. Skip 2. Handle index. That's funny that the index is also the index. I think those are coincidentally the same. Let's not print the handle because we don't get a handle ID, do we? I guess that is the ID of the handle. Can we print the handle ID instead? Skip 2.0. Asset ID, is that the right? No. It's handle.id should work. And this will be handle ID. And skip 2 should be coming in here, right? Actually, it's just the mesh 2D. Skip 2, option handle. That's the problem. That's the problem. Skip 2. How do I want to log this? .map h h.id. As ref. My logging code is getting hectic. Okay, and then we have the asset ID, but I don't want the asset ID like that. I want it a little bit more compact. Index. Can we just have index? Oh, well, index is fine. So angle, asset ID, index 3. This is the vertex index is really what we should be calling this. Okay, so global position, the angle, the handle ID, the vertex index, and we're looking for the skip index being this. So actually, I'm going to probably ignore the handle ID for the moment and only look for the skip index. Okay. So here's our logs. We start with vertex 1, which is index 2. That goes and looks for index 3, which it finds. Right? So bottom left to bottom right of the first rectangle, and it finds it. Then the scan for vertices finds the top left, which it needs a continue. And this is looking for vertex 4, but it needs to find vertex 0. And I guess we need to go and reach into that mesh vertex buffer and actually look for what the next index is, which we were going to have to do anyway. So this is definitely trying to go up 1, and it needs to go around to 0 to find it. So really what we need here is get the mesh, get the positions, find the position. So skip 2, which we were going to have to do this anyway. Skip 2 is going to end up being our positions here. If we can't get the positions for this, like, we're in serious trouble. So all of these are returned as errors. Because if we have a handle to a mesh and we get that mesh from the meshes asset database, and that mesh doesn't have vertices, and this is a 2D application where we set up everything with vertices, then something went really wrong. So we have positions. And I guess we just need length on one hand. So positions is a vec. So we do have access to length. This will be easy to confirm. I don't know why I typed it like that. I'm starting these streams at the end of my day now. I wake up like 8 p.m. yesterday, and it's like 10 a.m. today now. Yeah. So you're seeing me at the very end of my day, which is not great for mental capacity. Info length equals positions.length. Is there anything else we need to check? The skip index. So skip index +1. And then we check to see if how the heck do you get started on 8 p.m. start of the day? The TLDR short version is historically I've had sleep issues, and the way my sleep happens, sometimes it hits a breaking point where it kind of just like keeps pushing itself forward by like, 10, 20, 30 minutes a day. And most of the time I can course correct it back to like a reasonable hour, but sometimes it just hits too far. And the only way to fix it is to let it happen, to flip that sleep cycle and then get it back to the original. So that's the answer, TLDR. You've been there, yeah. 25-hour day, yeah. Length is positions.length, skip in. One of the really nice things about being independent is that a lot of the contracts that I work allow me that flexibility. Whereas if I was going into an office every day, I wouldn't have that flexibility. Length, skip in, new skip index. If new skip index equals, it's greater than or equal to length, should never be greater than, but positions.length. If next vertex position is out of the list, cycle around to 1 or to 0. And there are definitely ways that we could write this differently. Like we could just have positions.iter and then cycle and then pick the index. And then just take whatever one that is, and then we wouldn't need to worry about it. I think the positions don't actually do that, but one thing we could do here if we really wanted to is positions.iter.enumerate .cycle .at new skip index. I'm just going to call this new thing because I can't think of a name. At isn't the right thing. What is the one that gets us exactly there? I know we can skip in next, but I don't want to skip in next. Rust iterator. What is the one that gets it by position? Searches for an element in the iterator returning its index. It's not what we want. Skip doesn't have nth. Nth is what I was looking for. So this would cycle around and then we drop it. So it's not a big deal. So this is the new thing. This is optional, but it needs to exist. So that should give us a position. .0. .0 gives us the usize. I'm going to actually explicitly label this, even though I don't really have to, because I feel like when I do things like this, sometimes people can get confused because they haven't seen cycle or they haven't seen enumerate, etc. When it was happening for you, the company you work for was in Europe. You're wondering if that might be the case. Yeah. I mean, Europe, you have to be awake at like odd US hours, right? Otherwise, you don't get any overlap. So we don't need this because we'll get 0 from that enumerate call. Because we're calling enumerate before we're calling cycle, it should have just the enumeration of the list and not the enumeration of the cycle. So this is actually the new skip index. Which I don't really love shadowing, so I'm going to give this a new name. This is going to be not even a variable. This is going to be just directly in there. The mesh 2D should always be the same, so that should work. So skipping that. These are the right positions, I believe. Let's get rid of the things there. So unfortunately, we don't hit this area again. So we will, I think, draw it here. And let's draw it with a different color, just to signify that it is like the continuation. So that's what we wanted, actually. The first one is the bottom left. The second one is the bottom right. The third one skips the third vertice and goes to the top right. Now, the other thing we have to account for is this huge gap, because we have to hit this top left vertice next. So how can we make sure that we're doing that in that sense? The check then would be, if we hit a vertex that has an angle greater than the one that we're looking for, that won't be enough because walls could be sloped. I think that I'll work with that for now, and then I'll set up some test scenarios. Because I think the realistic approach here is that no matter kind of what rule set you choose, you can either work through all the edge cases or you can work with something that has constraints. And either way, you're either adding more code and more complexity, or you're keeping something simple and working within those bounds. And those are both valid choices for any game. So I think let's just go with, if we hit a vertex that has an angle that is greater than the angle of our current vertex that is on a different mesh, we'll use that one. I think if we have a rectangle in front of something else, that will break down, but we'll get there. We'll start building up our rule set, basically. So skip to skipping. This is trying to skip to find the next vertex. This then needs to clear out, actually. So this new skip index, we get the position in this positions array. We can redo our calculation here. Technically speaking, we shouldn't need to redo the calculation. Because I believe I stored them all. That's the other thing. This whole section up here can actually just be cached unless the player is actually actively moving. So there are some other optimizations we can do too. So we have vertex iterator and it's sorted. And we're mutating that to iterate over it. But all positions has all of the positions. So we actually have the handle in the position. So what we can do here is actually, I don't know if this is better, thinking about it. We have two options here in my mind. One is we can do a find on that iterator, or we can redo the calculation for the angle. One of them is nice consistency-wise because we're dealing with floats. It would be nice to not accidentally try to introduce some discrepancies there. But I think actually, if we do this, it's not going to be this. It's going to be right, the local position. So we would need the global position to do the calculation. We don't have the global position there. We do have the index and the handle. I don't think we can use the handle to get the global position. Query for mesh 2D global transform. So we could do like a query iter find, but that's the same thing that we would have to do otherwise on all positions. So I think and we can always go back and optimize. I don't really have a problem with iterating over some small amount of vertices. We aren't in a position where we're scaling this up at all yet. So we'll do all positions.iter.find. And this is visibility data. And really what we're looking for is something that visibility data dot come on, Rust Analyzer. This is like the job that I pay you for. What is wrong with that? I can't tell if this is ever like VS Code messing up or not. Let's see, visibility is mesh 2D index, angle from player, and global position. So we want to check the angle. We need to find via the index. We'll find index and mesh 2D. And then we get global position and angle. So visibility data.mesh2d equals, I think we just call this mesh 2D in this scope. And new skip index equals visibility data dot index. And these are going to have severe multiple reference issues. Unknown field. All positions should have, oh, it's a vec of visibility data because I didn't flatten it at that point. Ooh. Okay. So maybe we just flatten it. We could definitely use a different structure to get this information by handle. The structure that we're kind of storing it in right now is non-optimal. So let next vertex, right? If we have a next vertex, which we should, right? We can always loop around and find another vertex. So this should never fail. Looping around vertices should always find a vertex. So we get the visibility data. With that data, we have the global position. We have the mesh data. And we have the position from up here. Of course, the visibility data already includes the angle. So we don't actually need to do the calculation, right? Do we have the angle for the previous vertex? Is the question. Mesh 2D and index. when we set this, do we have access to that data in the first place? Mesh 2D index, I think we should, right? Because that'll be the original angle from player. So we just found our base next vertex, right? That's the one we're currently skipping. Oh, man, am I that silly? We already have that number. we already have, we don't need to do any of this to get the, because we just have it. Because we're currently operating on that one. No, we're not. Okay, never mind. We do have to do this. So angle from player is the current angle. Right? We need the next angle. So we have the next vertex here. So if we have an angle, this is going to be a shared reference issue, right? Yeah. Then skip 2 should be none. Skip is assigned, but it was already borrowed. Where did I borrow it? This needs to be commented out anyway. So if the angle from player is greater than the next vertex, then our skip 2 is none. We're not skipping to anything. We're just finding the next valid one. And the current vertex is that global position. Is that a problem? Right? Because we have our current vertex. We don't know what the next one is going to be. So our logic is going to come in down here. And this sum is on skip 2. So actually, we're going to go all the way down to none. So this is really the initial setting. And then our next setting is going to have a current vertex, but it's going to be looking for the next valid vertex. Which I guess we could do here, right? This is a while let. We don't actually have access to do that though, right? We do. So do we just hit next? and set that to the next valid one? I think we do. Option visibility data. I guess if this is empty, then we're done, right? So if let, we'll do if let sum next. And this is going to be next dot mesh 2D and next dot index. +1 though, right? No. So really we would need to peek and then send it through. So this would have to be peekable so that we're not actually forwarding it. Where's the vertex iterator? Vertex iterator is here. So we'll just add peekable there. We'll change this into a peek, right? Which gives us the visibility data. And then we have probably reference issues again. Expected option, nope. It's never reference issues in this program. It's always, I forgot to write some. Okay, so let me also include a log here. And then we also need to set up our other one. Right? Because otherwise, this is where we're going. And that is the wrong logic for some reason. Because what we're getting here is the 3, right? Because we're going left, bottom right, top left, which is not what we should be doing. So we skip to bottom right, and then we hit nexting the gap, which we shouldn't, because we're still in the same handle. So in this case, the angle for bottom right, if we're on bottom right here, or rather, we hit bottom left, we loop through and get to skipping on bottom right. So we have gone from left to right. That places us here with the bottom right hand vertex. The next vertex, we're just calling next here regardless, right? So this logic here actually needs to happen elsewhere. How do we do that? So next skip index, right? This is probably something we need to fix, but here, we do the cycle, next skip index. That's our next index, right? No matter what. So this logic to find the next vertex Why does this count? Oh, you know what? Because it's actually moving around in the less than direction. There we go. I flipped my greater than less than. So this is working now. So these are our triangles for visibility. We need to make sure that we're actually storing them correctly inside of the triangle bases. And then at some point, we'll come back and refactor this because the code is kind of messy. I'm writing it on stream. There's probably better ways to do a whole bunch of stuff. But that's the way it goes sometimes. So triangle bases here are always relative to the player. So it's going to be a vec of 2 vec2s, right? Which really, yeah, it's a vec of a tuple of 2 vec2s, which means that we have just the 2 points that make up the wall. And then those both come with the player. So we can go player, corner, corner, and that will form a triangle for us. And that'll be a triangle list that we can use. One thing we could do is instead of making it let's see, our options are triangle list and triangle list is probably easier generally because the indices are just straight like a list. But I think we have one other option. All right, so primitive topology. We've got 2 options here for our purposes. We want triangles, right? So we got primitive topology. We can have a point list, line lists, or triangle lists. We don't have lines. We have triangles. So we either need a triangle list or a triangle strip. If it's a triangle list, which most things in Bevy's meshes are, then every 3 vertices composes a new triangle. If it's a triangle strip, then each set of 3 adjacent vertices form a triangle. I feel like if we were writing this manually, we could use indices. But I want to keep it high level enough to be compatible with other Bevy stuff. So we're going to go with triangle list, which keeps all of our triangles independent, which is really what we have. We have independent triangles. So that means that every time, where's our triangle bases? Here's our triangle bases. Every time we hit skip to and we have a successful find of like, this is a valid skip to, we need to push in these 2 positions. I think we are pushing them in the correct order. It's global position and then current vertex. Global position here is the vertex being skipped to, so it's always going to be to the right in that sense. And the current vertex, so it'll be bottom right, bottom left of that rectangle. So player, bottom right, bottom left, player, top right, top, bottom right. Like that's going to be our triangles. Because they have to be counterclockwise for the faces to be in the right order. So I think actually what we do here is instead of what I'm doing, we don't actually need these to be anything but pushed in. So we push in the player position, which we have access to. We push in the global position, and then we push in And then we change this wherever I defined it. Vec2. We change this to just be a vec of vec2s. And this is just all of our triangles as 3 vertices in a row all the way to the end. So once we do all of that, we should have our triangle bases. So let's get rid of this and this, which are the 2 gizmos that we have running right now. And do we have a triangle gizmo? We have to have a triangle gizmo. Arc, arrow, circle, buffer, cross, curve, grid, line, ray, rect. Primitive 2D. Are we going to have to go with primitive 2D? Gizmos. Arc, axis, circle, cross, cuboid, ellipse, line, line strip, rectangle, sphere, rounded rect. I think we do. We could draw all 3 lines instead. It's not that big of a deal. I'm just kind of surprised we don't have one. Time is it? Almost 11. Let's write it using lines, I guess. We could use the 2Ds. Where's primitive? Why did that say there's a primitive 2D on there if there's no primitive 2D on there? Hang on. Let me... Those are completely different. Interesting. This is a trait. Huh. Well, we don't need it anyway, but... Okay, so we're gonna draw lines here as triangle bases dot iter. I guess, can we call this windows? Windows 3 dot iter. And then for triangle, can I destructure this? I don't think I can without using nightly. One of the reasons that I keep pulling in iter tools is for tuple windows. Do we have iter tools here? We do have iter tools here. We're going to use tuple windows. I know nightly has array windows, but I don't feel like using nightly here. So for X, Y, Z, in this, we need to probably bring in We need to call tuple windows on the iterator, right? Tuple windows. So this is going to be 3 line 2Ds. This is going to be are these the global positions? I think they are the global positions. So I think we can just do X, Y. Y is triangle bases. Borrowed here after move. When do we move it? Oh, we move it because I'm logging it. Oh, that was easy. Here's our mesh. This is our visibility mesh, so to speak. The reason we don't have visibility going south is there's no boundary on it. So I think that for the algorithm that was shown, we actually kind of do need a containing rectangle. But here's our mesh, which is cool because now we can just throw this into a mesh and have it for free. But it's getting to be 11. I'm probably going to stream again tomorrow, so I'm going to cut it before I go too long and fade myself out here. I don't know if we're going to work on this example or what we're going to do tomorrow, but we'll be back for doing more Rust. Maybe Bevy stuff, maybe Rust, Rust quick start development. Get something for people who are just coming to Bevy and don't know anything about Rust, but could use like a quick start. But thanks for hanging out, everyone. Go check out Exofactory on Steam for Steam Next Fest. Would be awesome to see, more Bevy games in Next Fest. And I will see you next time. Later.